Thanks for tuning in. So in this session, we are going to demonstrate unit testing in Java with the help of a very simple web application. So let's get started. We are going to talk about the basics of unit testing. Then we are going to download the sample source code repository from GitHub. And finally, we are going to demonstrate unit testing in Eclipse. By unit, we mean the building blocks of the source code. In Java, the methods are the units. And the unit testing helps us to determine if these methods or units are fit for use. The repository that I'm going to use for this demonstration is available at github.com/mydemoapps. It's a simple calculator web application. It has methods like add, subtract, calculate factorial. There's a method called isEven, which tells whether a given integer is even or not. Let's get started with the practical demonstration. If you open the URL I just talked about, you will see the calculator web application. Click on this. If you see, there are 4 commits, which means the code has been committed 4 times, but I'm not going to use the most recent version of the source code. Therefore, I'll click on this 4 commits and then scroll down for the very first version. So if you see this button, it says browse the repository at this time in the history. Click on this. Now you see just 1 commit instead of 4. Click on this green button and then click on download zip. The source code has been downloaded. Let's have a look. It's in the form of a zip file, and within this folder we have calc web app folder. Now we are going to open this project in Eclipse IDE. For that, we have to click on File, then click on Open Projects from File System. Click on the Directory button and locate the folder. And now click on the Finish button. The project has finished loading. Let's expand this tree and see what's going on. So in the src folder, we have locate the calculator class that we have to talk about. So it's right here. Let's open this. We can see a subfolder called test. Let's expand this one too, and then open this file called calculator test.java. So we have to talk about 2 important files. The first one is calculator.java. The second one is the unit test class calculator test.java. The methods are very simple in nature. I have chosen this very simple example so that we can focus on the unit testing rather than focusing on the source code itself. So you don't really have to put any effort to understand this. We have a subtract method, add method, multiply method, divide method, isEven method, which determines whether a given number is even or not. And we have factorial method, which determines the factorial of a number. Then we have this test class, which already has a bunch of tests for different methods. For instance, we have a test for add method. The name of this test is add method test1. Then we have add method test2, and so on. So in the first method, we are providing 2 arguments after creating the object of this class. We are calling the add method, and we are providing 2 arguments, 20 and 10, and the results that we are expecting is 30, and we are using this method assert equals to determine if the test passes or fails. Similarly, if you see the second test for add method, we are providing -5 and -20 as arguments, and the result that we are expecting is -25. Without any further delay, let's see how to run these unit tests. So you have to right click on the project, then select run as, and then click on JUnit test. And if you see, all the tests have passed, and we see this green line and it says 14 out of 14, 0 errors, 0 failures. Well, this is an ideal situation which may not happen in the real world. So let's see some other methods. and let's write tests for those and see if the code has some limitation and some of the tests may fail. So let's scroll down and see the test methods for factorial. So right now there are three methods for calculating factorial. The first one is factorial of 3, which should be 6. The second one is factorial of 1, which must be 1. The third one is factorial of 5, and we are expecting a result of 120. Let's see, let's write a fourth test for calculating the factorial. So I'm just going to copy these lines and let's call it factorial method test 4, and in this case I'm going to pass 0 as an argument, and of course the factorial of 0 is 1, so I'm expecting 1 in the result variable. So let's run the tests. Right click on the project, run as JUnit test. Alright, so in this case we got a red line and there is at least one test that failed, so it's factorial test 4. So we passed the value that was 0 and we were expecting a value of 1, but the test didn't work. So let's see what's going on in the source code. Now here we have the factorial method, and this method returns 1 when the input value is 1, and in rest of the cases it makes a recursive call, which means if you pass 5, it returns 5 times factorial of 5 minus 1, that is 4. And for 4 it will return 4 times factorial of 3. For 3 it will return 3 times factorial of 2, and so on until it reaches the base case, that is 1, right? So but it does not talk about 0 at all, so that is why we are getting an error. It's not able to calculate the factorial of 0. Of course there are a number of ways to fix this problem, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to add an if statement to take care of this. And let's see if our tests work now. So once again we are going to right click on the project, click run as JUnit test. We get the green bar, all the tests passed. Let's get back to the calculator test.java class again. Let's create a copy of factorial method test 4, and let's name it factorial method test 5. In this case I'm going to pass a negative number. Let's pass minus 10, and of course the factorial for a negative number is not possible, so let's say we are expecting an error code that is minus 1. So if you see, I have written the unit test for this factorial method before even finalizing the code for the factorial method. So that's the beauty of the unit testing. You can write the unit test before even writing the source code. So if I run this, of course this is going to fail, but let's try it first. So of course one of the tests, that is factorial method test 5, has failed because our source code does not take care of the negative numbers being passed to the factorial method. I'm going to add another check, that is if our number is less than 0, we are going to return an error code, that is minus 1. Alright, let's run the test again. Run as JUnit test, and this time everything should look good. Alright, finally we got the green bar, so I hope you understood the basics of unit testing in this demonstration. So I'm not going to add any more tests, but I'm providing you some hints at how can you write some tests. For instance, we have this divide method which is not taking care of a situation that we provide b as 0, right? So it's going to be any number divided by 0. So the test is going to of course fail. But I have not written any tests for the divide method. So you can add some tests for divide method and see which of the tests fail. That's all for today. If you have any questions, please feel free to post them down in the comments. I'll be glad to answer. Thank you so much.